Welcome to the Flight Club Podcast, a woman's guide to leaning out. We give you a behind-the-scenes look at business launch and growth through the stories of successful female entrepreneurs. Here's your host, Fallon Hansen, founder and CEO of Hera Hub.
Hello and welcome. I'm excited for my conversation today with Fallon. She is a marketing consultant for purpose-driven businesses, providing marketing strategy, brand positioning, fractional leadership, and communication support. In particular, she specializes in helping clients develop a sustainability strategy to better engage conscious consumers, developing both the external narrative and the internal business practices to sustain it. She spent her career at the intersection of business and social impact, leveraging storytelling and authentic communications to meet and exceed revenue objectives across industries from clean tech to environmental conservation, to nonprofit media. Welcome to the show today, Sam.
Hi, Fallon. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. It's so interesting as I look at your background and your career path. We have a couple parallels here and there.
Yes.
So you're originally from the East Coast, Connecticut. Now you're there in DC and a member at Hera Hub DC there.
That's right.
Yeah, and I see you started your business about 9 months ago. I'm excited to dive into the work that you're doing now. But take us back, your undergrad. Why did you choose the school you chose? Why did you choose rhetoric? Dance. You were also a dancer. So talk about some of those early decisions around education, and then we'll get into your career path and master's degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So I started my educational career. I went to undergrad at Hobart and William Smith colleges in the Finger Lakes region in upstate New York, beautiful upstate New York. And while I was there, I double majored in writing and rhetoric and in dance performance. So I really was kind of heavily into the art space. And they were two different forms of storytelling and, presenting that really worked beautifully together. One was the written word, one was more physical, but they both really had that storytelling through line that, is something I'm so passionate about. And while I was in school there, one of my favorite things I was involved with was their Writing Fellows program. That was one of my work study jobs there on campus, where I helped my fellow students with their projects and their papers, and really became an expert at facilitative questioning to get them where they wanted to go. And that's really where I discovered how much I love helping people structure themes and tease out answers and helping them get where they want to go. So that, really, it was just my job while I was there. I kind of fell into it, but it informed so much of what I do today, and then also kind of where I went along my career journey.
Awesome. Well, let's dive into that. You had quite a long stretch in the publishing industry.
Yeah, exactly right. So that sort of love of storytelling, it felt like a really natural next step to be in the book world. So both on the editorial side and the more traditional publishing companies, on the literary agent side of things. But eventually I found my way onto advertising teams. And so working in book marketing. And that is where I discovered this whole other form of storytelling. So not the product itself, but really the act of storytelling as a marketer. And I kind of stumbled into, this incredible blend of the art and science that to me is marketing. And that really kind of fueled my interest in the business side of things.
Awesome. I definitely share that that passion around the creativity and the
Yeah.
analytics coming together in marketing. You also went back and got your MBA. Again, kind of parallel timelines in regards to, I also took about 5 years off and then did my MBA nights and
Okay.
weekends. It's a lot of work to go to school at night
Yeah.
while you have a full-time job.
Oh yeah, yeah. So okay, you know the drill. It was
Yes.
definitely a lot. It was a stressful time, but it was also just a really kind of dreamy and creative time. I used to be riding the city bus back home at 11 o'clock with some of my classmates and just scheming. And it really, that I think is where I started to fan my entrepreneurial flames and really started thinking in that creative way, coming out of that MBA program.
So talk about that a little bit because it took some time to get there from what I can see based on your timeline. Or did you dabble in self-employment even prior to launching your marketing agency that you have now?
Yeah. Yeah, no, this is my first dabble. I was
Okay.
working full time in more sort of corporate environments after I graduated from undergrad and then while I was in grad school. Um, but for me, an MBA was never on the radar. Business school was certainly not on my radar when I was,
Mhm.
in the dance studio. I had a very different kind of vision for where I thought I would be headed. But as happens over the course of your career, one little step leads to the next little step to the next. And so I found myself at a point in my publishing career working in marketing where I really thought, wow, marketing is the thing I love and I want to kind of go deeper into this. I know I love telling stories, but how can I use data and, like you say, the analytics to really back up what I'm trying to tell and what I'm trying to do? And so that's when I decided to go to business school, which I mean, my family was bowled over. It was definitely not what they had expected, but it really, helped a lot of things kind of click into place.
Yeah. I want to talk about a brand that you worked for that is well recognized, of course, across the world, National Geographic. Uh,
Yeah.
Talk about your work there and then talk about just the changes you've seen in your career in the publishing industry. I mean, I'm sure you've seen a lot.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those industries that it's been said that it's a dying industry for years and years and years now. And of course, lo and behold, it's still here. So I would say it's changing, not
Yeah,
dying.
yeah.
Um, but while I was at National Geographic, it was first of all, it was just amazing to kind of work for such an iconic brand and to be in that space and to be exposed to the incredible work they were doing. Our book authors were the explorers who were coming back from these incredible places, working on conservation and discovery. And so, really, for someone who has such a passion for sustainability and the environment, that was a pretty special place to be.
Mm.
And while I was there, it was actually a pretty major moment in the organization's history. It shifted from its nonprofit status to becoming a for-profit, and it has, sort of a foundational arm that spun off as well. But that was my first real exposure, I would say, to the concept of a double bottom line and sort of the idea of doing well by doing good, and
Mhm.
the concept that a company can be profitable and needs to kind of center its revenue objectives so that it can sustain in the long term while also doing incredible work and caring about people and the planet. And so, as my first job out of undergrad, it was really formative in helping me see that like this sort of win-win way of going about things is not only possible, but it's really wonderful and it's really successful. And that definitely informed my the rest of my career trajectory and of course my business today.
Awesome. Awesome. And then also your passion in sustainability. You worked for some time in energy sector as well.
Yeah, yeah. I spent quite a bit of time in renewable energy. Again, marketing was sort of the through line that brought me there. But wow, what an exciting, ever-changing, kind of fast-paced space to be in. I feel like every day something new is happening. And the company where I worked was a B Corp kind of startup in the space. I
Mm.
was there about 5 years in. And so it really morphed so much during the time while I was there, but it was just amazing to be with a company on its journey from sort of the exciting startup chaos to a more solidified and diversified organization. But again, it had that core mission driven foundation. So of course it's a for profit. Of course, revenue and growth is paramount, but equally paramount is what are we doing for future generations? What are we doing to sustain the environment through really innovative renewable energy solutions?
And what was the core function of the company, Sam?
It was a direct to consumer retail energy company called Clean Choice. And I was brought on to lead one of their new business lines, the marketing for one of their new business lines called Community Solar, which was a really interesting new experiment into how solar could become more accessible for all. And rather than investing in your rooftop, maybe you're a renter, or maybe you don't have the means to do that, or you want to, but you have a shady roof for whatever reason, people could become members and join an off-site solar farm somewhere else. And so as an industry, community solar itself continues to grow. And it's just, I think, a really cool flavor of, okay, now renewable energy is becoming more established. How can we then bring it out to a broader base of people beyond kind of the early adopters?
Interesting. I hadn't heard of that. That's great.
Yeah,
I have solar on my roof, but I live in sunny
cool.
Southern California, so
Yes.
understand that not everybody again has that opportunity. So that's great.
Yeah, that's
Awesome.
right.
Awesome. Okay, so I want to get to this big decision you made
Hmm.
to leave Clean Choice Energy and launch out onto your own. So Hawk and Heron Marketing is the name of the company.
Yep.
Obviously, I want to ask about the name and how you chose the name of the business. And then, of course, talk about that decision to step out on your own.
Sure, sure. So the name, it's funny, it was sort of like the shorthand I had for this project, this little twinkle in my eye for the years before I decided to actually launch. And the name harkens back to my parents, who were both, kind of serial entrepreneurs. They were always kind of coming up with new businesses. When I was first born, they were one of the first US franchise owners of The Body Shop, which is a skin and hair care brand that came over from the UK. But it was really kind of ahead of its time in that doing well by doing good philosophy. It's a product, it's a profitable product, but it was based on fair trade and fair labor and sustainable business practices. So, I mean, I only recently realized, like, oh wow, that was kind of ingrained in me from the very very beginning. But just in terms of what my parents brought to the table as entrepreneurs, when they teamed up, I saw this like really special blend of the hawk, which is my family crest on my dad's side, and to me, that's really being laser focused and analytical and steady. And then the Heron, which is my alma mater from Hobart and William Smith, and that's actually where my mom attended her undergrad as well. And to me, that's really about being more fluid and relational and operating from more of a narrative based perspective. So I like to think I got the best of both of them, and kind of brought this hawk and heron together. and am able to kind of balance those two sides, the art and science of marketing, the purpose and profit focus that I bring to clients. But that theme of balance is also kind of what pushed me to launch and to leave Clean Choice Energy when I did. I really, they are an amazing company. They were so supportive of me as a young parent and kind of all the flexibility that was needed in that. But even so, I really felt like I needed more balance in my life so I could focus on not just being a professional and an ambitious professional, but also a parent, but also a friend and a community member, and a creative person. So there were sides of my personhood that I felt like I had been neglecting. So this choice to leave was really about exploring, whether this entrepreneurial idea had something, as well as being able to kind of reorient toward showing up for my kids in the way I want to show up, showing up for myself in the way I want to show up, going back to taking some art classes. I'm in a pottery class now, which has been amazing. So it really just felt like the right moment to reassess that balance.
Awesome. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. So talk about some of the work that you're doing in your business.
Yeah, so today I work with clients to really hone in on that idea that I had thought was, second nature, that idea that you can balance profits and purpose, but really helping marketing organizations in particular, the marketing branch, bring that sense of purpose into their marketing program. So I'm a marketing strategist, I'm a generalist, but what I help clients do is sort of see that big picture and then infuse sustainability and their sustainability story into their overall marketing program so that they can better connect with the consumers and the conscious consumers they're looking to acquire and retain. So it's really about, for me, meeting clients where they are. Some already have a strong ESG program, and it's just about how to better communicate that out to the marketplace. And then for some, marketers are kind of like feeling this pull toward sustainability, and they know that this is where things are headed. Eventually this won't be a differentiator. Companies are just going to have this as part of their core DNA. So for those marketers who have that sense of inevitability, it's about crafting what sort of sustainability story makes the most sense for their brand and is authentic to what they're trying to do and really will resonate with their customers.
Awesome. Did you have any naysayers, Sam, when you said, hey, I'm going to leave this amazing career that I've built and launch out on my own? Or was everybody super supportive?
Everybody was super supportive, which was incredible because all the naysayers lived in my head rent free for a long time. And this person is going to think this, and this person is going to say that. And I was bowled over by how supportive everyone was, from my former employer to, my random neighbors. Everyone has just been so supportive and really on board with the work I'm trying to do, and full of ideas for who I should talk to next and who could use these services. And so tapping into this new community of entrepreneurs and consultants and people doing this work has just been, pretty mind-blowing to me. It's been a really special experience.
Fantastic. Do you ever think, I wish I would have done this sooner?
Sometimes, but you know what? I don't think I was ready. I don't think I had kind of learned all the lessons I needed to learn to get me to kind of take the leap. And I think hindsight's 2020. So I think it happened when it was meant to, and I'm just glad it has happened, and I'm here now.
That's awesome. And talk about one of the clients that you're working with right now.
Yeah, well, I've found myself back to that kind of startup mentality. I really find myself drawn to businesses who are working in this like really fresh white space. I love kind of taking the amorphous, ambiguous ideas and putting some frameworks around them, putting some marching orders around them. So one client I'm working with has a really innovative new platform in the community solar space. And so it's fun to kind of harken back to that industry, but to really think about how the story can be told from the ground up. So really putting brand values in place that speak to, wanting to make a bigger purpose than simply a tech platform, although it's going to make a strong case within the business need itself, but also the broader impact on the planet. Has been really, really fun to kind of play around with that and to be bouncing ideas off with people in a similarly really creative and generative headspace.
Love it. Wonderful. Well, anything that you're working on for the future that you want to share with us that you're excited to talk about?
I am working on quite a few sort of talks and workshops and concepts around just kind of giving marketers who might not be, ready for a full consulting engagement, but just giving the tools to be courageous and kind of speak out authentically about sustainability. It's, ESG is like the total, don't be uttering that word right now. There's a whole lot of backlash.
So interesting.
But it is
like,
so interesting.
How did this happen? What happened?
Yes.
Yes. So
I think it's one of those things that the pendulum has swung. I have to believe it's going to swing back. Yeah. And part of the swinging really was, marketers who have this sense of purpose and are conscientious really have become so concerned with greenwashing. So even amongst ourselves, there's like this self-policing going on. And so the pendulum has swung out now to, something they're calling green hushing, which is where people, even if they have these ambitious climate targets, even if they're hitting their targets, they don't want to say anything because someone's going to call them out. So I really, want to empower marketers to stake their claim and tell their sustainability story and avoid that green hushing pendulum swing. So some of the thought leadership I'm doing really centers around that concept. I'm excited by the conversations I've been having on that front already this year.
Yeah. I see you wrote an article about a month ago, 3 strategies to counter green hushing trends on LinkedIn. Yep. So it looks like you're pretty active on LinkedIn. If folks want to reach out to you, I'm assuming that's a good place to start.
That is the perfect place to start. You can find me there. We're at my website, hawkheronmarketing.com. But yeah, I would love to connect.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Sam. I've really enjoyed getting to know you a bit, and fun to see some of the passions we have around marketing and working with the community.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for your time, Felina. I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you for joining this week's episode of Flight Club, sponsored by Hera Hub. We look forward to sharing more success stories with you soon.